Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders. This one's going to be a multi-part one. First part of this one's going to feature a rehousing with my L. crotalus, a gorgeous Indian fossorial species that you just don't see around all that much. I'm kind of excited to show this one off because quite frankly I've had her for 4 years it seems, and I've seen her only a handful of times. Most recently because she's come out of her burrow and been kind of hanging around in the outside. So we got some good footage of her. So enough of me talking, let's get into the first part of this video featuring the L. crotalus. All right, for this one, we're going to be rehousing my Lyrognathus crotalus, or L. crotalus. Picked this one up from Tom Patterson way back in February 5th of 2016. It was actually one of the coolest orders I ever got because he stuck in so many cool freebies. And this was actually one of them, just an awesome animal. Originally, we had it in a mainstay 2-quart, one of those ones you get at Walmart. I transferred it over to this one here that I believe is, I want to say 6 quarts. It could be closer to 8 quarts. A decent sized one. And this is an Indian fossorial species. They do burrow, and one of the things in the original enclosure it had, and I haven't seen many spiders do this, it had like a vertical burrow, which was really cool. However, in the wild, they construct their burrows in the sides of like inclines and stuff and on hills. So we tried to set something up in here. If you look in here, I tried to kind of give it a little incline with the space in there. If you notice, I always start them with a starter burrow and a cork hide above them. I've talked about this quite a bit lately. People read that they're fossorial. They figure they'll just build their own burrows, but I like to give them a place to go to. A, it's dark, so when you put the spider in here, it's going to want to retreat to someplace that's dark, which makes sure it doesn't bounce out like you sometimes see in rehousing videos. And B, most of them will start burrowing in there so you can kind of control where they burrow. We've got about, probably about 6 inches of substrate here, 6.5, 7 back there. Now, just to point out, because I've had some people ask some questions about rehousing, some new folks are getting into the hobby, I do all my rehousings inside a plastic container so that if they do get out, I have another wall of protection. And then, if you look over here, I do the crumpled paper towels in the corners sometimes, because what will happen is if they bolt, they will run until they feel secure. They will usually end up in a corner, and if you have a piece of paper towel there or something, they'll usually just stop there. You can move the piece of paper towel and cup them safely. So I put those in there just to kind of show people one of the tips that I do use or give when doing rehousings. So luckily, this one recently basically closed up its burrow and has been sitting toward the surface, so I will have some good footage of this one, so I was able to get some good feeding video of it while it was out and about. So what we're going to try to do is prod it out this way, cup it, get it into the new enclosure. If that doesn't work, I will remove the cork bark. This one's usually been very, very calm, so I'm hoping she remains calm here. Actually, you know, I'm just going to go ahead. Yeah, this thing's, oh, I always feel so bad when they, I'm going to go ahead and reach and grab that with my hand, which I usually don't do, but she's definitely, if we get a little shot of her there, right in there is my big giant finger. Now, obviously, I've had her since 2016, so we're going, oh my gosh, we're going on 4 years, aren't we? My God, how time flies. And she's, I'm guessing this is probably full grown. I think she's molted twice. I'm guessing this is a smaller species because she hasn't put on a lot of size since then. So what we're going to try to do, I'm going to use my square transfer cup that Billy can see here, obviously simply limeade, which is really not, has barely any lime in it at all. And I don't know, oh, I know why I got away from using these. One of the dogs chewed up my other square one, and I never got back to making another square one. So we're going to try to get her going this way. Now, a little threat pose from her there. Yep, I don't blame you. And we got some mold in here too, so this will be good to get her out of here. Let's try to get this in front of her and get her from behind. There you go. Right in there. No, no. Oh, oh, naughty girl. Not a happy girl right now. I really don't want to bring this mold in there, I'll tell you that. Usually I can get them to settle down once you get them up. She's still not sure what she wants to do here, so there we go. There she is, not happy. I'm going to try to get some of this stuff out of here because I don't want to drag in. She is not pleased. She's not slapping yet, but she's definitely telling me she doesn't like this. And I don't blame her because I just ripped the roof off of her house. The trick here is to be very calm. The worst part about this is I just drop all this in, but I can smell that mold. I do have it set up as kind of a bioactive. right, we're just going to go ahead and get her in here, and we'll deal with the mold later. There we go. All right, switch cameras here for a second. So all right, we're going to go ahead now and pull this out. And there's my little angry girl. I'm going to get the top ready while Billy gets in there and get some footage of her, and hopefully get too close. Awesome species, and again, I love picking up some of these species that people aren't familiar with. Unfortunately, you don't see these out and about often. Hopefully, Tom, I'll have to check out and see if Tom's been selling any lately or breeding them lately, because I think some of these guys get overlooked at times. All right, so these guys, obviously fossorial. If you find slings, I would start them in something like an amok box, or if a little bit larger sling, something around a 32-ounce deli cup or so. Mine's been a great eater. You do not see it out very often, and that's why I knew it was time for a rehousing for this one, because I've seen her maybe in the 4 years that I've got her, I've caught her out maybe 3 times. She's a very elusive animal. So I want to make sure that people understand that this isn't going to be a very visible one. However, when you do see them out, it makes it oh so worth it. And when I came in the other day, it was actually about a week ago, I went to feed her and she was like right out in the open, and I got a good feeding shot. It was so exciting. So they do eat well. This, I think, is she's probably about 4.5 inches right now, and I'm guessing that's about the natural size. I love the fact that she's got those large, thick those thick back legs there for digging. I'll be curious to hear what other people say, because this one twice made the vertical burrows, which I really find cool. I think the only other species I've seen do that is E. pachypus, which does the vertical burrows. But hopefully what she will do is adopt to that burrow after I put the cover on this and get the lights off of her, dig, and then we'll try feeding her again, because she did just molt recently. It was, I think, her second molt since I've had her. But awesome species. And as luck would have it, my buddy Louis Roquet, who has the channel and the podcast Preclarum Theraphosidea, actually just posted up a video of these guys where they did some DNA work on them. So that would be something I'll link at the end of the video so people can bop over there and check it out. So there we go, L. crotalus, awesome little spider. If you see one of these guys, if you like the fossorial species, don't let the threat posture freak you out. As you can see, she's calmed down a bit. There was no real slapping. It was more like, please just leave me alone. And I think sometimes what people forget is the fact that those aren't done out of aggressiveness. It's more out of fear. She's getting plucked out of her home. I don't blame her for being a little upset. All right, so it took her a little while, but she finally put down the threat pose, settled down, and she's been in her burrow, and I'll obviously do an update about her moving forward. All right, next up we have an update on my Acanthoscurria musculosa. I'm going to apologize to the person that requested this right off the bat. Unfortunately, I wrote your name down, and I cleaned my desk recently and lost my notes, so my apologies for that. But anyway, my girl, at least I hope it's a girl, just molted, so here's a little update on Acanthoscurria musculosa. All right, so I'm going to apologize in advance. Somebody asked me if I could do an update on my Acanthoscurria musculosa, and I tried to find the comment, I couldn't find it, so we're going to try to get this one as it's, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous, as it's kind of poking out. Now, this is my A. musculosa. I got it in early 2018 from Dinky Reptiles, I think I bought it as a little teeny tiny sling, and like most Acanthoscurria species, it ate amazingly well and grew like a weed. It was originally in one of the small dram vials, and I was dropping little small dead crickets in for it, which it would eat with gusto. It put on size very, very quickly, and within about 6 months or so needed a rehouse. We put it into this here, which is about 2 quarts or so, maybe 2.5 quarts. I like these things for the juveniles. They're stackable. Not as clear as I would like, but it's only a temporary housing because this one will outgrow this probably within the next molt. So as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the molt, which is of course completely twisted. I could try sexing that later, but this one grew, actually, it's grown very quickly. I love the coloration of it. I would try to, I normally don't do this, but I'm going to poke the brush in here and just see if it'll, no, there we go. Billy can get a little close up of it. The coloration on this is absolutely stunning. Reminds me a bit of my Sericopelma species Santa Catalina, although not quite as orange, but very cool species, growing quickly. Now, I do keep these moist as slings. I kept the substrate moist in the dram bottle it was in this enclosure. As you can see here, this underneath the water dish, the substrate is moist. What happened is when it went to molt, it dug out a lot of the dirt, so it's getting some of the dry stuff, but I do keep moistening it. We've got obviously some sphagnum moss here, which helps keep it a little bit moist. This one's been out and about a little more often as it's put on some size. I'm expecting that once, actually, you know what? Let's try something here. I have a cricket ready. We can go ahead and try to feed it. Come out, it's a cricket. I thought maybe it was ready because it was out and about, but might not be ready to eat yet, and it might be just sick of having a camera in its face. No. So that one's definitely not ready to eat yet because these guys are voracious eaters. So awesome species. Again, I apologize. Whoever, please feel free to chime in. And if you were the one that asked me for the update on it, I took notes on it in my notebook, but I cleaned up my computer desk recently and I lost all my notes that I had written in my notebook because I put my notebook somewhere. So apologize for that. But there you go. A. musculosa, very cool species. Doing great. I'm guessing now, if we look at this molt here, this one's probably about 3 inches or so. So I'm guessing this one's at least 3.5, 4 inches. Right? About 3? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, A. musculosa. All right, so moving on. My O. philippinus slings are out there now. People are starting to get them in. They've ordered from Fear Not, and I want to thank everybody that bought some. Hopefully you will enjoy them as much as I do. But I've had some people question me about what I'm currently feeding or what I'm doing with them. So here's a little update on mine. All right, so I've had a lot of people that bought the O. philippinus slings I produce ask me what I'm feeding them. Now, this is going to be out of the ordinary for me, and I want to make this very clear because I normally never use these things. However, we were getting them ready to ship. We had separated them out. They had turned a second instar, and what I picked up was some flightless fruit flies, which I loathe, and I'll tell you why. They're kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. Also, they don't make a particularly great meal for a sling. Even the smaller ones, it can be, I'm feeding these guys like 3 of them to make up for it. So I'm using these now because I paid money for this and we're trying to use them up as quickly as possible, use some of them up. So that's what I've been using. Now a trick for these guys, this did not come from me. One of my subscribers gave me this. So if that's you and you're watching this, please let me know. I will basically go ahead and pin this comment so everybody gives you credit where credit is due. But what you do is you bounce these down, shake them down. We shake them into a glass. We put a piece of paper towel on it. We put a piece of tape, and then we stick it in the freezer for about 10, 15 minutes. You want enough to slow them down. And then what we do is we have a bowl here that is also put in the freezer because we found that what would happen is we pour them out of here. They would go into a warmer bowl, and they'd reanimate much more quickly. So we're going to dump them right in there. And then Billy's going to have her camera work cut out for her. What we do is drop a couple in for each of these. And of course they stick to the tweezers. I hate these things so much. Boop. Now what will happen is as these warm up, they will reanimate and the spider will hunt them down if the spider doesn't get out. So I usually put 3 in each. Now, just to explain the substrate, when we're getting them ready, because we're going to ship them, we put them in straight sphagnum moss. Moist sphagnum moss. So what that would allow us to do is better see where the tarantulas. You can see there's the fly there, there's the tarantula there, and it allowed us, it was easier for packing. And I decided to keep mine in here right now because quite frankly, they're doing great. I can keep an eye on them. As soon as they molt out into third instar, I'm going to move them into regular traditional setups, which will have dirt that they can burrow in. But for now, it's allowing me to be able to better keep track of them, and I kind of like it. So something a little different. Andrew, if you're watching these, the ones with the A, you can guess who those are for. So we'll do one more on camera. There's a little guy right up there. 1. Oh, a little train of them. 2, 3. And what I found is when I come back later on, they take them all and they basically web them up and make a cricket burrito, so it's a better meal. But I will tell you right now, 1 is not enough for these guys. So there we go. That's what I'm feeding them. Now, heads up, easier way to feed them and a lot more cost effective. Pick up some small mealworms, and then what you can do is you can keep the ones you're not using refrigerated, and then the ones that you are using, you take them out, you cut them into little segments, and then you can drop a segment in at a time, and they will scavenge feed off those. That's probably a lot easier and a lot more cost effective than picking up a bottle or a canister of these. So there we go. That's what I'm feeding the O. philippinus. So far, the ones I have here are doing great. I hope the ones that people picked up are doing great as well, and I'd love to hear updates. So again, if you only have a handful of these, don't bother with the flightless fruit flies. I'm just showing that because we did use it to feed all the ones that went out, and I'm trying to use up some of the ones I have left to justify the purchase price. The easiest way to do it is pre-killed, either tiny red runner roaches. You can use cricket drumsticks, which are ripping the legs off a cricket. Kind of gross, but it works great. Smaller pre-killed crickets, or mealworms work great. Cut them up into little sections and just drop a section in, they'll be fine. So hopefully some of you guys that picked these up will chime in on how yours are doing. Can't wait for mine to molt. All right, so that'll do it for this one. As always, if you liked what what you saw and would like to subscribe, you can click the circle right around in here. If you'd like to check out some more videos, they'll be right over here next to me. I check all my comments, answer all my comments, so please feel free to leave a comment. I'll be sure to get back. It might take a day or so because I tend to get a lot, but I will definitely get back to you. That's it for this time. I'll catch you guys all next time.